Every single decision that an individual makes about his own life has an ethical dimension in it. Go to a corporate level where a typical business, large or small, has, depending upon how you want to think about it, about 12 different stakeholder groups at all times that are interested about what the corporation is doing. Is it offering them something supposedly for free, but in the meantime it's draining their private information and selling it to other people? So the question of what are the ethical implications of any particular decision that is being made in a business, whether it affects only people internally to the business or outside, it's hugely important. And it's always, always there.
Ethics is all about being trustworthy. And you have to have trust to build strong, meaningful relationships in the professional world, but also in your personal life.
It's kind of a scary thought to live in a world, where people don't value ethics. And I think that unfortunately, we do see that with some of the population. It's, well, this serves me, so I'm gonna do it regardless of what's right or wrong with it. And those are the kind of people that actually terrify me because, they're not looking out for the common good. And you see, the tragedy of the commons where everyone's looking out for themselves and not for each other. And in the end, it doesn't work out for anybody. And so living in a world where everybody is looking out for themselves and themselves only, there's no camaraderie and working together and building those things, and then B, no happy ending than that.
Hi, I'm Kent Noble, and I'm the Bill Daniels Chair of Business Ethics here at the University of Wyoming. And I'm here today to tell you a little bit about our ethics initiative here at UW. The Daniels Fund was founded by this gentleman, and his name is Bill Daniels. And if you're not familiar with Bill Daniels, you should know that Bill was a cable television pioneer. But really what he was is just a remarkably successful businessman. In fact, by the time Bill passed away in the year 2000, he had amassed a $1 billion fortune. And he ended up leaving almost all of it to this organization that now bears his name, the Daniels Fund. Well, one of the really important initiatives for the Daniels Fund is ethics. And it's so important that what they've done is they've created a relationship with 11 different universities in the region. And all 11 universities have been given resources to help teach principle-based ethics to their students. The other thing we've been given are these 8 principles that you see on the screen. As you can see, they are integrity, trust, accountability, transparency, fairness, respect, rule of law, and viability. And together, they make up the Daniels Fund Ethics Initiative principles. We've taken these principles and we've actually made them our classroom code of conduct. So in other words, I ask our students to evaluate me using those 8 principles. And fair is fair, right? I also evaluate the students using those principles. One thing our students have really come to appreciate about our business ethics curriculum is we do some things that really help them separate themselves from the rest of the pack.
My work started here at the University of Wyoming, and what I've done is essentially use the experimental method to assess whether or not the students who are taking the ethics classes here and are part of the ethics programming more generally, if they're behaving ethically, if they are developing ethical characteristics relative to students who aren't part of the program. So I'm using a treatment control design, experimental design essentially, to assess the impact.
Each one of our students will create their own personal code of ethics. By the end of the semester, each of those students will be able to tell you, this is what I stand for, this is why I stand for it, and here's how I can live my life in a way that shows it.
So we wanted to test their cognitive ability. How smart are you? And we gave them a series of problems, and there were opportunities to cheat and say they had solved problems that were unsolvable, basically, that there's no way they could have solved. And that's how we tested whether or not they were being honest in their reporting. And like I said earlier, thankfully, the students who had taken Kent's business ethics course were less likely to say they had solved unsolvable problems, far less likely.
that's the important part of these courses because, as I said earlier, ethical reasoning is not something you do sometimes and ignore the rest of the time. A decision maker, whether one is making decisions about one's personal life or what's going on in a corporation, a decision maker is making ethical judgments in every single decision that he or she makes. And the question is, does the decision maker have a set of tools or an approach to incorporating ethical reasoning into the decision-making process?
People think that they're born with this innate sense of ethics and what it means. And, I'm an ethical person, but another thing we talked about with Kent Noble was your personal brand. And it's not necessarily what you think about yourself, but what others think about you. And so, kind of reflecting on that and thinking, okay, maybe this seems like the right decision, it benefits me, but at the end of the day, how does it look to other people? How does it affect other people? And just kind of understanding that general sense of my actions do impact other people, and is it going to be a positive impact or a negative impact? And that's up to us to decide.
The other thing they do is our students work with a business or organization in our community. And their assignment is to take one or more of the Daniels Fund Ethics Initiative principles and somehow add value to that organization. So this is giving them some real-world experience that they can talk about with future employers. We have had employers stand in front of our students and say, if you can do these things, if you can build an ethical foundation using these tools, and then can tell a compelling story as to why ethics are important to you, you will immediately be on our radar screen.
Like a lot of times as students, we're kind of tested on our ethical practices and our integrity in general, and just that idea of, you've got this online class and you're not supposed to use your textbook, but it's there. Are you going to use it or are you not? When it comes down to the bigger, more difficult decisions, it's not as hard because I haven't been as flexible, over here and over there and compromised those values.
One of our charges is to reach out around campus and promote principle-based ethics with units outside of the College of Business. And we've been really successful in this area. In fact, over the last year, we've done 50 outreach engagements, and 40% of those were here on the UW campus.
So here it is 15 years later, and look at the number of institutions that are heavily committed to this, investing a lot of time and resources, and the impact that it's had. And so Bill was a role model for people around him at that time, and he continues to be a role model through the foundation's work and the programs at these institutions here in New Mexico and Colorado and Utah and Wyoming.
All those years ago, when Bill Daniels first became interested in ethics, when he started building his reputation on ethics, I don't think he could have realized the ripples that he was creating and how those ripples are now literally spreading all across the Rocky Mountain region, thanks to his work and thanks to the Daniels Fund. And the exciting thing about ripples is they have no logical end. And as Bill Daniels proved, they can go on forever.